Good morning, and thank you for joining today's webinar from SPEC Innovations, using AI Quality Checker to meet INCOSE's guide for writing requirements. My name is Liz Steiner, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. First, I'd like to go over some quick housekeeping. Amir, can you change the slide? All right, thank you. During the presentation, feel free to send us questions, and we will get them answered in the Q&A part of the webinar. You can also interact with us on LinkedIn through the Innoslate users group or through Twitter using the handle @SPEC Innovations. The webinar is being recorded and we will be made available to you after the live presentation, so keep an eye out for it in your inbox. Now I'd like to introduce you to our presenter, Amir Abrari. Next slide, please. Amir Abrari is a systems engineer at SPEC Innovations with a BS and MS degree from George Mason University. Since joining SPEC Innovations in May 2022, he has contributed to many different projects, including the integration of ChatGPT API and artificial intelligence onto the Innoslate cloud platform. Leveraging his expertise in SysML, MBSE, LML, and LMM, Amir hopes to use his systems engineering background along with his extensive experience in AI/ML and OpenAI's ChatGPT to contribute to the Innoslate's platform. Feel free to ask him questions through the LinkedIn user group or email amir.abrari@specinnovations.com. And now I'll hand over controls to Amir and we will get started.
Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Amir Abrari, and today we're going to go over the quality checker. To go over the agenda quickly, today we're going to understand the INCOSE rules, standards from the working group, INCOSE requirements working group, introduce the new and enhanced Innoslate quality checker, apply the quality checker into a demo project, talk about some practices, as well as talking about how the quality checker works on the back end, and have a Q&A in the end for you guys. Okay, to get started, the INCOSE Requirements Working Group was established in 1992. It aims to advance the practice in requirements engineering and introduce new rule sets, new books, and new writing guides to INCOSE users, engineers, and just the industry all around. They released their latest version of the requirements writing guide V4 in July 2023. As soon as this writing guide was introduced to us, we decided to take on the task to look into the writing guide and see how they dealt with the requirements. And soon we learned and we're able to connect the requirements writing guide into our platform and enhance our quality checker as a result of that. So the requirement standards are parsed into many different rules, up to 30 to 40 different rules. Now, some rules that are able to be quantitated into our platform and into normal speech and natural language processing, some that are different in other ways, and we will go over them today. So they were defined as rule sets. They had definition, elaboration, and rationale, showed some examples. In some terms, in some scenarios, with their rule sets, they provided a word bank of words that they would require to be used as rules. And as a result of that, we were able to take some of these word banks, take some of these rules, and apply them into our natural language processing on our backend and our quality checker. Our quality checker assesses each requirement as a string and is able to, match these words and able to use natural language processing to define the rules, to give them a quality score, many of which we're going to go over later in this presentation. It is important to mention that these rules had different definitions, different situations where they will be able to be defined. So there are some rules that apply to certain statements, and there are some that don't apply to some statements. So the quality checker attribute that we have, one thing that we need to mention is that we had previously our own set of rules, and we were able to redefine ours and make sure that we have some new attributes to capture everything. It is also important to note that the requirements writing guide from INCOSE had many of rules, some of which we were not able to apply to our quality checker. You might ask why, and the main reason to that is because some words, some combinations of sentences are due to intuition. You can't quantify those, and you can't really put those behind a score. So there are some that are bound to human comprehension that we left to be open and not be checked. Now those might, directly impact what the score will be, but those are some that, an engineer need to take care of on their end and have their judgment, be the judge of the quality score above that. So these are some of the rules that we were able to apply. We have our attributes here: necessary, appropriate, unambiguous, complete, singular, feasible, verifiable, correct, and conforming. Now, each of these rules, and as you see on the next column, check for certain rules. For example, necessary checks for R30, which is unique expression. As another example, for singular, we have ends with period. Now, it is important to note that the rule sets that have R next to them are directly from the INCOSE writing group, writing guide. But for example, ends with period is one rule that we set separately on our quality checker, because we believe that each requirement has to end with a period or has to have a capital letter. And in the case that they do not have those properties or do not follow those rules, it'll be negated onto the quality score. Again, the quality checker score is in combination of all these attributes. There are 9 total attributes, and the validity or invalidity of these attributes each contribute to the total score. We have 9 total scores. If you have all 9 of these attributes satisfied, then you get 100%. It is also important to note that for some of our previous users that used the quality checker before our 410 update, the quality checker was never able to go to 100% previously. It would always go to 75%, but now with our new quality checker, you are able to get a score of 100% on your requirements. So for our warning messages, for some that used Innoslate in our attributes, we had certain messages and warnings, and each of these rule sets now come with certain messages. For example, on the same examples of a requirement has to end with a period. If you do not have a period, under that attribute is going to have a message must end with a period. So each attribute has its own warning response where there's a violation. If there's a violation of using an and, for example, or if you're using in a passive voice, the quality checker attribute is flagged, and then there's this R2 passive voice detected ... alert there. That helps us communicate what is wrong with the requirement and how users are able to fix it. Now, once the users fix that in the requirements, they can rerun the quality checker, and as we will show on the demonstration, and properly continue with the requirements engineer. Again, the bracket ... bracket over here will include any word, any noun, any sentence or string, really any string they identify, and they will flag that and put that in those brackets. So I will show you guys in the demonstration later in this presentation. So in terms of the quality checker workflow, right now in step 1, we are in the document. Step 2, we hover over the More tab. Step 3, we click the More tab and go find the quality checker icon. And step 4, our quality checker runs. Now, it's important to note that in step number 1, we have our quality scores of 56, 33, 22, 44, and 56. After running our quality checker, we have quality scores of 89, 78, 44, 56, and 56. Now, to some, you might say, okay, 56, that's a low score. Once we get into showing the quality checker, you will see that these scores vary based on the compilation of these attributes and can be improved very easily through refining your requirement, which is the overall goal of this, is to help the users as an assistant be able to refine the requirements and make them better requirements using the quality checker. So this is an example of our attributes tab on one certain requirement. We will go over this one by one. So for our first step, we have appropriate flagged as no, and R31 flagged an imposition of a software solution. the keyword database imposes a software solution possibly, and that's something that we flagged. Now, if a user thinks, and this is again goes back to the continuous topic of user help and AI assistance, is users are here to now verify this information, and if they would like to say that yes, this is an appropriate attribute, they can always toggle, use this drop down and toggle it as yes, and then it will not flag it anymore as that. In step 2, we have a contingent flag on other attributes being resolved. And we have certain mappings in our quality checker attributes that rely on other issues to be resolved. For example, in this instance, complete, feasible, singular, and or unambiguous attributes have to be resolved and have to be correct, valid for this attribute to be activated. The reason to that is because a lot of times the combination of these things contribute to a requirement being correct or not. For step 3, we have R26, a potential use of an absolute detected. And in the brackets, we see every. So the word every is being flagged because we're mentioning an absolute in our requirement. And many may argue that there shouldn't be absolutes in the requirement because it is at times impossible. And you can't verify every single time, or a different way of mentioning every would be a better use, will be a more acceptable use based on the writing guide. So our fourth step, we have R30, potential duplicate. Now, it is proper and correct for you to not have duplicate requirements, and this one's a very important feature that we added in combination with the R30 rule set. This mentions the requirement to backup every 24 hours requirement that we have in the same document is 100% similar to the other requirement. Now, why is this important? Our quality checker is now able to flag and identify that there are other requirements in the same document that are 100% similar to one another. So there's no need for the duplicate. So this now flags it for us. We can go ahead and find it. And there's actually an example of that in the demonstration that I'm going to show you to you today. For our fifth step, this contains an indefinite article A. It also gives a suggestion to consider replacing with a definite V. This was part of the rule. They have a word bank, A was one of them, and is one of them, that it flags. And in R24, flagged a personal and indefinite pronoun, similar to R26 here, but this is more of a pronoun thing. And it is important to note that our quality checker is able to recognize different verbs, different nouns, all due to natural language processing. And that's something that we pride ourselves a lot on, is our quality checker natural language processing combined with our AI processing power is really able to identify multiple different variations of sentences and give you the best shot at giving you a proper quality score. Now, again, all of these are very variable, and all these are very dependent on what the context of each requirement is. So it's always good as an engineer using AI to always be cognizant of the fact that it might not be 100% correct. No AI is 100% correct. It shouldn't be. And engineer verification is always very important to be there to help the AI as an assistant, rather than it just quality checking everything for us and us just trusting it 100%. It's proper for us to always check and verify and validate. So as an element of the quality checker, once you click the quality checker button, the quality score bar changes for each requirement and provides a range of scores, 0 to 100. And it also has color schemes of red, as you see in the 33%, yellow, as you see in the 56 and 44%, and green in the 78%. Obviously, green is good, yellow is moderate, and red is bad. It's pretty standard. And again, once you reflect a change onto your requirements, which I will show in our demonstration, and redo the quality score, these scores can improve or get worse, depending on how you change the requirement and what you do with it. So now we're going to get into the demonstration for our quality checker. We're going to go over how the requirements document works as an overview, the attributes, how they work, and how the rationale works on the documents. using the quality checker, improving your scores using the quality checker, different views that we can show our columns, and different ways that we can present our information on the documents view on Innoslate. So let's get started with our demonstration. So if we go to our dashboard, this is the Innoslate dashboard, as many of you might be familiar. This one's a catered dashboard just to this demonstration. I just wanted to show our dashboard. You know, we have a requirements query list here. It was very easily able to be done through just a query modification. I have my requirements document widget here just to have a quick access to my requirements document instead of going to the documents tab and finding my requirements. So let's go to the requirements document. This is the standard view to what a requirements document looks like. We have our entity, our rationale, quality score, and our labeling. On the left side, we have our filtering, baselines, and comments. And here we have our quality checker. So looking at each requirement, we have a variety of quality scores in here. And by clicking on our requirements, we can see that it is a requirement. We can see our rationale and what quality score we achieved. So I previously showed the attributes tab and how each attribute and quality checker attribute is mentioned. As you can see, the messages here are very clear on an ambiguous. We're containing a vague term, which is daily. Now, if our requirement needs to have this phrase daily, that is completely fine. All you have to do, you can go ahead and toggle this as yes, and my quality score automatically went up. I just showed you, I can go ahead and revert that. If I do no, the quality score goes down. So there's a little bit of verification here manually that you can do. And that allows you to go in and verify your information. Now, it is important. If I were to, for example, take this daily away, click that, run my quality check again, my score just went up. So it is very important, again, to mention that you can continuously improve your requirements step by step and do this many, many times. So let's look through a little bit, some more examples of this. Now, as I mentioned before, our requirements checker is able to identify that you have similar duplicates of one singular problem. So in this situation, we have 100% similar example. And theoretically, if you face this problem in the real world, you're like, okay, I have the same exact requirements twice. I'm going to go ahead and remove one of my requirements from this document. This is the requirement that's being worked on. If we go ahead and recheck it, oh, I improved my requirement by not having a duplicate anymore. So we are one step better at our quality score. And again, it's that constant improvement of our requirements over time, rather than asking the quality checker to give me all my scores and give me all my suggestions. It does that. But you as an engineer have to go in and fix some certain things. In this example, there's an absolute in all. All is an absolute, and you want to maybe fix that, maybe not, maybe leave that as you want, or maybe just toggle it yes. I think all is an appropriate verbiage use, and I just improve my quality score that way. Now, it is also important, as as all requirements engineers should do, there's traceability available on an Innoslate's document view. Here we can see that audit logging is satisfied by audit tasking and also verified by an audit log testing. So it's important to mention that we have indicators here shown for us to show that we have satisfied by relationships and verified by relationship indicators here. Another way that you can go ahead and see your requirements in a more full view is editing our display attribute columns. In this example, we have rationale and quality scores, but why don't we remove label and go into our requirements and bring some of our other attributes that we would like to look at and see all in the same document. So if I were to apply this, now to the right of my documents, I can see all my attributes. And what's nice is we can also go ahead and apply them. So if I think For example, we can just move here, like in the all instance, if you're using the term all to you as an engineer, you think that's a proper way of using it, you can go ahead and here, toggle that yes, and automatically your requirement will improve. So again, this is another way of seeing the same amount of data and the same information in different views. And that's something that we are able to provide at Innoslate is, go to display options. You can always edit the way you want your table to see. If you just want to see the rationale, quality score, all you have to do is apply this, and that's all you see. If you just want to see your quality score and that's all you want to focus on, you can do that, expand your quality score, and you just have a view that includes your quality score and your requirement. So there's many different ways to display this information, and I definitely recommend for everybody to go and play with these different table views because there's so many different ways we can present our information. Data-driven system engineering is something that's very important in the real world and something that's definitely provided on this platform. Now, if you want to go ahead and get an output report of all of your quality scores, you can go ahead and get a document, create that document, and get an output of all of your requirements and the quality scores that it has generated. This way, you have a report automatically created for you, and you can provide this to your supervisor, to your stakeholders, whoever needs to see your requirements. It is very important to mention that the report that I just created is based on the query and based on the columns that are being displayed. So if I want more information in my Google, Word document, I can enable more of these different things. In this instance, I can do another one. I have my requirements in draft, in review, or even rejected. I have my attribute that is contributing to the quality score. I want to get a report of this and provide this to my stakeholders now. All I do is I take another report based on the new view, and now I have all of my existing and new attributes that I wanted existing here. So it's all a matter of how comfortable we are with the platform and the different ways we can go ahead and customize our workflow. Go ahead and save this. I can show the dashboard again and how our new query list is now updated with all of our information and our new quality scores. So that was a short but hopefully effective demonstration for you guys. Now it is also, I want to mention that we have documentation on the quality checker. I know I was very brief, but on our Help Center, we have documentation for all 9 of these attributes and what rule they are, what Innoslate checkpoints we use, what word bank we use to identify each of these, and also what attribute they formerly were before this update. You can access this specific article using this link at help.specinnovations.com/v10 quality check. And I definitely recommend to any client, any user that I've ever had a discussion with to always check the Help Center. It is something that we really, really encourage users to use because there's a lot of documentation there. We have great, great support people at Spec Innovations and really encourage you to go through this, check our Help Center articles out, and it'll definitely help with your user experience on our platform. Transitioning back to Liz.
Thanks, Amir. We've received a couple of questions already. If you haven't done so, please send your questions through the panel on the right that pops up after clicking Q&A on the top bar. If you have any trouble with that, please feel free to use the chat. We'll go ahead and search for both. Amir will answer as many questions as he can before our time is up. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first question. What was the process from understanding the INCOSE rule sets to implementation in the quality checker?
Okay, that's a great question. In terms of our process, we originally had to go ahead and understand what these rules mean because as you want to implement this in our software, we face the challenge of a lot of these rule sets and a lot of these different ways this data and this information is presented from the rule sets is a lot of words. And we had to go ahead and implement different word banks, different situations and different use cases in which our NLP model identifies different words differently. And there's different metrics and different sentence examples that responded differently to our NLP model. So it was an iterative process of first understanding these rule sets, second, putting these in a comprehensive table and mapping this to what attribute would satisfy this rule set. And once these rules were categorized under different branches, then we were able to, use different documents, use different people's opinions on what is an inclusive word. All, for example, we had to come up with these one by one and put this in our word bank to be checked. For the ones, as I mentioned earlier, there were some of these rules on the writing INCOSE writing guide that gave us the word bank, which was very easy. We just put those, plug them into our model, and hey, check for this every single time. Once we go ahead and do that in our rule set classification, then we went ahead and implemented that into our model. Then we had iterative testing from all of our engineers. We had a bunch of baselines, and all of our engineers each went ahead and tested this bot to make sure that it's meeting the requirements, it's feeding the information correctly, it's classifying itself correctly, and we found bugs. Our software engineers, great software engineers in SPEC, went ahead and refined and retuned our system. And once it was ready for release, now it's available for everybody, and we hope that it serves the purpose that it should, is to be an AI assistant, is to be a requirement assistant. Hey, how's this requirement looking to you? If it's bad, give me feedback. And that's all those things that we've integrated into our platform.
Thanks, Amir. If anyone is having any trouble with the Q&A section, please feel free to use our chat. We'll be monitoring both. Our next question is, are all INCOSE rules considered in the quality checker? If not, why?
As mentioned earlier, not all INCOSE rules were able to be implemented into our rule set because a lot of these expressions, a lot of just natural language by humans is very at times dependent on your intuition. It is all an inclusive world. That is pretty much a unanimous thing that we think that all is an inclusive word, but some, is something that could be or could not be. And there's, some might not be a great example, but there are certain words that aren't able to be classified as, into a word bank. So we left some of those rules out because you just can't classify them into normal text, and they're more context based. And since we're looking at just strings, it will be difficult to just say, okay, in context of this problem, is this rule set valid? That's based on the engineer's intuition. And we wanted to leave that to the engineers to be the judge of that. But confidently say 90% of the rule sets were implemented. 5, 6, some of the rule sets like that, it's a very small number that weren't implemented. So that's why and how, and that's just genuinely how the English language works. And that is why we weren't able to implement them.
Thanks, Amir. Are there any report types that can output the quality check results?
Yes. So currently we have our Word document. I can just go ahead and show this way. We have plenty of report types. We can create this as a table. So whatever you see in this screen or whatever columns you have displayed on the Innoslate platform, you can go ahead and create a tabular CSV. And this would allow you to include whatever attribute you want and display this. Again, like I said, to your stakeholders, which is a very important thing that engineers do every day. Is I have my requirement set completed, I have my rationale, my status, my quality score now in Innoslate, and I want to show this to my stakeholders. So this is another way we can create reports and show our reports to our stakeholders. We have our quality score here, our description, the name of our requirement, the rationale we have for our requirement, status, appropriate, unambiguous, all those different things we can show to our stakeholders. Another way was what I already showed in our Word document. We can go ahead and do those things. This is an XML file. If you want to maybe integrate this to a different platform. Another important one is a RecIf output. If you work with other companies and other legacy systems, you can take this RecIF output and input them into a different platform. And we're always open to different suggestions, other ways that we can implement a report type that'll best show our quality scores. So again, this is an iterative process. This is a product that will improve over time, and we look to add more reports that only show our quality score, only its attributes, and ways to improve it, etc.
Thank you, Amir. We have another question. Is there a composite function for a roll-up of quality for a specification as whole, short of the breakout?
Could you ask that question again?
Yeah, of course. Is there a composite function for a roll-up of quality for a specification as a whole, short of the breakout?
So currently, we do not have a roll-up to the all of the scores into our document. The main reason we kept each requirement separate is because a lot of requirements have different categories. If you're a functional requirement, physical requirement, and we wanted to keep them separate and the document as a whole, which is why each requirement is quality scored and checked separately. We currently have roll-up features in our test cases and test center where it can roll up the status of each quality score. It's certainly a feature that can be added, but it's something that we've decided to keep separate. Now, upon feature requests or specialized requests for different contracts, it's something that could be possible. I mean, no promises made, but we keep our requirements separate, quality scores separate, and we do not check the score of the entire document, mainly because requirements are different. Different categories can be demanding of different things. And I hope that answers your question in terms of composite specifications. I have a little bit of difficulty with that, but that's, I think, the best answer I can give for that.
Thank you, Amir. That looks like all the questions we have for today. We would like to thank you again for joining us. As a reminder, we will be following up with you very soon to send you a link to the recording and the presentation slide deck. We hope you can join us for our next webinar, AI-Assisted Modeling and Simulation of Standard Operating Procedures with Sapatra. Your link to a sign-up will be in the email that is coming soon to your mailbox with the slides and recording. We also encourage you to visit our website and blog, as well as connect with us on social media. That concludes today's presentation. Have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you at our next webinar.